This week on Dine Drink CLE, the podcast.
You know, they want a little bit of privacy, so Jade down in the Flats East Bank I think would be kind of a cool place. Multiple levels, great spins on Asian food, Asian flavors. The sushi there is...
Taylor Swift is the one with the big bucks here out of the two. Let's be honest.
No, true. But together, imagine they're like unfathomable.
Yeah, so let's be honest. Taylor Swift might be taking Travis Kelce out on a date here in Cleveland. Sort of measure up or compare to some of the other categories. Is it more or less prestigious, or is it
I think it's equally prestigious, but what you'll find is California has its own category. New York has its own category. What might be more difficult or challenging in the Great Lakes category is Chicago is part of our category.
I'm Josh Duke.
And I'm Alex Darus.
And you're either watching or listening to Dine Drink CLE, the podcast, where each and every week we're going to be joined by cleveland.com's best and brightest food experts, insiders, and influencers. What are we talking about today, Alex?
Another week with a lot going on. We're going to talk about Travis Kelce recently made a visit to Cleveland. He stopped by Geraci's Pizza, and we thought it would be fun to think about where he would take Taylor Swift if they ever decided to come to Cleveland together. So we're going to play a little game of pretend, pretty much. And then we're also going to talk about the 50th anniversary of Mr. Brisket, a very important butcher shop in Cleveland Heights. And finally, we got some exciting news about the finalists for the James Beard Awards. Cordelia on East 4th Street in Cleveland is representing the Northeast Ohio region in the awards this year. So we have a lot to talk about with that. So first up, we got Marc Bona here. We're going to talk a little bit about Taylor Swift if she came to Cleveland. So recently, Taylor and Travis were on a vacation in the Bahamas, and then they ended up in Malibu eating sushi. But in between, for it's seemingly less than 24 hours, Travis was able to stop at Geraci's and get a slice of pizza. So that was pretty exciting, right?
It was. And it got us thinking about spots where they could go in his hometown and where he could take her on a date. I gave this a lot of thought, maybe too much thought. And I was thinking, there's obviously a lot of different types of places. So she is a sushi fan, and they want a little bit of privacy. So Jade down in the Flats East Bank, I think would be kind of a cool place. Multiple levels, great spins on Asian food, Asian flavors. The sushi there is part of what they do. It's in their name. And they have a private rooftop lounge. I think that would be...
Yeah, it's kind of swanky there.
It is. It's got a cool feel because the vibe is different on every level that they have. I think that's neat. Another place, and I tell all of my out-of-town visitors, you've got to go at least for a drink. You have to go to Marble Room.
Yeah.
The name is Steaks and Raw Bar, so that really fits the bill. I'm going to assume, for once, that Travis Kelce is a meat eater, and so he can have a steak. She can have something from the Raw Bar, and they have the Vault's private dining area as well.
Oh, yeah. No, and I always say, too, when I tell people to go to Marble Room that, yeah, you can order a steak and stuff, but I really love their sushi there. It's actually amazing.
The seafood is good there. I really like it. Now, if they want kind of a date night type of approach or a date day night, they could start at Jack Casino. I know there are private tables at every casino.
In the high roller room.
It would give them both, a high roller room, and it would give them both a chance to show off their duds. They really both are elaborate dressers. If you think Taylor Swift is into attire, you should have seen anybody who watched Travis Kelce host Saturday Night Live last year would see he was in a very unique outfit as well. From there, he could take her to a Christmas Story house, which I think is very much a true Cleveland thing. And then right across the street, a very old traditional Cleveland bar, the Rally Inn.
That would be a sight to behold. I will say the Rally Inn has amazing food. I love going there. It would just be kind of hilarious to see Taylor Swift at this old school bar restaurant.
And then, if he takes her to the arena for a Cavs game, there's quite a lot of food options there. I really like Sauce the City. Vic Searcy has this great hot chicken sandwich. There's also a mushroom option. So if she's in a vegetarian mood and he wants a chicken sandwich, they've got that going on. And then finally, I've also read, I really did do too much research on this. She's also, believe it or not, likes an occasional cheeseburger. That's her indulgence.
I saw that too.
So a couple places that come to mind absolutely immediately, Gunselman's Tavern in Fairview Park. They were the winner of our 2018 Best Burgers contest.
Another hilarious bar to imagine them
Yes,
in.
yeah, absolutely.
It's very small and not private at all.
And then the most recent one, as Chakerian and Yadi Rodriguez, our two of our colleagues, did the Best of Burgers contest that we talked about just recently, Crowley's in Eastlake. And that's another place like it's kind of the East Side version of Gunselman's. It's very down home. So that's what I've come up with. But I've also read she does like a good cup of coffee and she does like an occasional cocktail. Those two areas are right up your alley. So if you have suggestions, let them know.
No, I think that a lot of what you picked was kind of similar with what I had in mind as far as the sushi kind of upscale cocktail situation. I thought Sora downtown
that was
would
on my
be great
list too.
because also they have an omakase option, which is like the multiple rounds. It's kind of more fancy and you can do a sake pairing with it. I think that seems like something kind of upscale. As far as coffee and cocktails, it's kind of hard. I feel like I've definitely gone to a bar like Mahal's in Lakewood or something where they've done a Taylor Swift night and they have the Taylor Swift themed drinks, which who knows if she would be into that. And also across the street, which they have a shop in Tremont and in Lakewood, is Roasted Coffee. It's very, very cute. Lots of fun flavored drinks there. And so I think if she's a Starbucks girl, it's like a better version of Starbucks. So.
Nice. And Clevelanders are by and large pretty down to earth. I don't think people are going to mess with her, especially with her boyfriend / bodyguard. And she may have her own bodyguard entourage as well, I'm guessing. So I think it would be kind of cool to see her at some of these
you have any
spots.
ideas, Josh?
Well, yeah, I mean, you guys listed a few that I had in mind too, like Marble Room. That's even Drake was there just recently when he stopped by for his tour. So that's going to be a celebrity hotspot, I feel like, in Cleveland. And then, of course, like you said, with sushi and cocktails, I think Sora is a good option for that too, especially with the cherry blossom sort of aesthetic they got going on in there. And for me, I'm thinking, when I think, okay, Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce, he seems like he's gonna like throw down a burger and some beers, right? And she's gonna want maybe a burger too or whatever. Maybe, I think I've read she also likes ice cream or something. But anyway,
she likes to bake.
Yeah. So she likes sweets and stuff too. So I don't know. I was just thinking a great place where you could just get anything. Probably in Pinecrest. Maybe Kitchen Social. I feel like that'll be a good spot. Obviously, it's not the most private, but I mean, they got the money. They can book it out.
Yeah, just rent out the whole restaurant.
Yeah,
that's a good
but
option.
I honestly think that we might be looking at this backwards. I mean, Taylor Swift is the one with the big bucks here out of the two. Let's be honest.
No, true. But together, imagine they're like unfathomable.
Yeah, so let's be honest. Taylor Swift might be taking Travis Kelce out on a date here in Cleveland.
No,
what do you think about that?
And no, I just kind of remembered when you were talking, I think Bruno Mars came to Cleveland and went to like Porco's or something. And that would be a fun place for them to get a cocktail. They could probably rent out all of Porco's if they wanted and just...
I think it'd be cool to see. I mean, there was a great photo that went viral a few years ago of Mick Jagger, who was touring with the Stones, and late one night after a show, he went to this cool little outdoor patio of a bar somewhere in North Carolina, and everybody was leaving him alone, and he was just chilling out and having a bottle of beer. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I think it's only fitting that Travis does take her to Geraci, so it seems like it's gonna... The stars are aligning that way. And
well, that's the vibe there downtown is an 80s slice shop. She was born in the 80s. So that'd be perfect.
There you go.
And you know what else is funny? With RH Cleveland, the gallery at Pinecrest, that's right there in Pinecrest, the Pinecrest area too. That just opened up. They can go furniture shopping for their house in Cleveland.
Yeah,
that's
like the kind of people who could afford.
They can actually afford it.
The horse, though.
No, that's kind of smart though. Be like, yeah,
maybe they can bring them Travis Kelce's mom, and she can get her a set or something. I don't know, and then they can a bedroom set, and then they can enjoy some wine and some lobster rolls and on the rooftop
and caviar. Service.
Caviar. Why not?
We've got your trip planned, Taylor. So she just needs to Make a stop in Cleveland. Maybe we should start with getting her to stop in Cleveland on a tour date.
Well, here's the thing. We are all this conversation assumes this hasn't happened already, and we just haven't missed them.
She came
she
secretly.
She could have been at one of these places we've already named secretly.
Incognito.
Not likely, in all fairness. I don't think that would be a secret that could have been kept here in Cleveland. But
I think
yeah,
the world of Instagram would have shown that already.
Yeah. No, the Swifties are pretty. I feel like they'll track her flight patterns and stuff.
When she did her Eras Tour movie, when that opened here, I went to a premiere, I guess, party at the Cinemark in Valley View, and I talked to a lot of Swifties there, and they were like really gung ho about this. What do they call it? Swelsey pairing. And they were basically.
I remember that because that was like at the beginning of their relationship too. And I went there too because I had to see the movie for work. And I was shocked with all the Swelsey jerseys already. I was like, they just started dating.
Yeah. And they were really, really wanting Travis to bring Taylor to Cleveland. So Travis, you have an assignment. I mean, come on. What's going on?
And now we're joined by Paris Wolfe, who wrote a story recently about the 50th anniversary of Mr. Brisket in Cleveland Heights. So hi, Paris.
Hi, Alex. Hi, Josh.
Welcome.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about Mr. Brisket and this monumental anniversary.
Well, Mr. Brisket has been around Northeast Ohio for 50 years. It was started in 1974 by Stanford Herskovitz, and he had started taking some customers from his mom's former butcher business, and then it's been taken over by his stepson, Hank Kornblatt, and he is selling mostly Wagyu and prime meats, all really good. After hearing about it, I went there, checked it out, made a bunch of stuff. Really like it.
Yeah. No, I thought one of the interesting parts of your story was how like their clientele has changed over time and kind of how like buying patterns, like people kind of went from buying a lot of meat in bulk to not, and putting it in their freezers to not eating as much red meat. Like what was that?
It really has followed kind of what's going on in our consumer culture. People used to buy more and keep it in their freezer. They'd buy 10 of everything and freeze it. Now people want more fresh. People have been watching Food Channel as some of those buying patterns were dying off and the clientele was getting older. The business was not doing quite as well. And then the Food Channel came about and all the cooking shows started to become very popular and people wanted to buy the same products. And Mr. Brisket had a lot of the better products for them.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting, like you mentioned, the Food Channel, how he kind of walks through the history of how the Food Channel has kind of sort of led some of those trends and changes in the consumer, I guess, ideology, right? A lot of it has been steering, it sounds like, more health-oriented, health-conscious a little bit, and how there was a phase in there about red meats and how people were
health-conscious and people were not supposed to be eating red meat. And what they found out was heart disease was going up, not down. So people got back to eating red meat. And then the barbecue trend started on the Food Network. And he's been selling a lot and developed a real niche in the barbecue space. And some of that with the barbecue space, he's sending boxes of meat around the country to people who want that quality for their competitions.
Yeah. And what is that like? I guess, what is the difference from buying a steak at the grocery store to buying a steak at Mr. Brisket, like quality wise?
Most of the steaks you find at the grocery store are choice and select. They are not prime. Prime is only 2% of the meat sold at retail. Most of that is sold at 2 restaurants and specialty butcher shops. It's more marbled and more flavorful. The next step down is a little less marbled, and then as you keep going down, there's less marbling, less fat, which makes it juicier.
And that's for all cuts.
All
right?
cuts of all cuts, not just the Wagyu, but also every meat.
Yes. They do is prime.
Yes.
Rated. Yeah.
And you know, going back to the Food Channel, I feel like social media is kind of like the new Food Channel, right? So you have influencers out there who are cooking and showing you how you can do this and that in order to either lose weight, have a healthier lifestyle. And I wonder how he sort of looks at social media's influence on foodie trends now? Because
He sees a lot of that in barbecue for sure. He mentioned that because they have a lot of barbecue followers now. That's their niche.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like to just also mention in your story, like people kind of used to just want chicken breasts and veal chops, but now because of things like social media and stuff, people are like, oh, let me try to
They're going back
make
to brisket.
bone marrow.
Yeah, they're going back to brisket, or they're going onwards to marrow and some other unusual cuts.
Yeah, or even organ meat and stuff like that. It's
Yes.
like, it's not just, I mean, especially when it's a higher quality, that's the way to try those kinds of things.
Definitely.
Yeah. So in other exciting news, we learned recently that Vinnie Cimino of Cordelia was named a finalist for the James Beard Awards. Paris, you want to walk us through, tell us a little bit about that?
Well, he got his semifinalist award a couple months ago, and he was one of 20 chefs, several in Ohio. And then the finalists were announced this morning, and he was one of 5 in the Great Lakes region, which is Ohio, Indiana, Illinois. He is one of 2 from Ohio, and they will be announcing the winners in June.
Cool. So we talked a little bit in the past about why this is such a big deal and sort of a little bit about some of the criteria, but can you refresh our memories? Like why, how did he make it to the top 5? What criteria were they?
James Beard Awards are pretty much the top award in the culinary industry. He won not just for the quality of food and the things that the consumer sees, but the things the consumer doesn't see, how he leads his kitchen, how he sources his ingredients, how he treats his people.
Yeah, it's a full encompassing thing. And I think also what's really impressive is that Cordelia hasn't even been around for 2 years, right?
I believe it was summer of 2022 that they opened.
Yeah.
So it's not 2 years yet.
Yeah, and it's crazy, like to already have that recognition. I mean, I've gone there and eaten several times because it is just so delicious. Honestly, that would have been a good place to take Taylor Swift because it's very Midwest food.
You know what? You're right. I feel like it's the best restaurant I haven't been at in Cleveland.
Probably.
So
You gotta
honestly
go.
feel that.
What do you love about it, Alex?
I like that when I go out to eat, I like ordering stuff that I either can't make at home or I don't even know what's in it. Like to recreate it at home. Like I'm not someone who goes out and orders a lot of pasta and red sauce or even a steak because I'll cook it at home.
Likewise.
But everything at Cordelia is just like, what even am I eating? Like from just the snack trays with fried saltines, like that is just
gosh, that sounds so good.
delicious. I've had their burgers are really good. They have a really spicy cold cabbage and noodle dish. I also know earlier this year, which I think I might have talked about it on the podcast, they hosted like a Midwest nice dinner that showcased a lot of their different, not just them, but different chefs in Ohio, kind of celebrating what the region offers. And I don't know, they make some desserts too that are crazy. I just think everything there is just fun.
Yeah, I was going to go there. Actually, I walked to the door right after the St. Patrick's Day parade, but I think they had just closed or maybe they weren't open. And I was just like, oh, man, I'll have to come back. So do you know if this is like an establishment where you'll need a reservation to get in?
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
After today, you're going to need a reservation a couple weeks in advance.
Yeah, so Paris, do you know, obviously this is a huge deal. When the last time a chef in Cleveland made it to the finals at all or even won?
Jonathan Sawyer of the Greenhouse Tavern was a winner in 2015.
Yeah, and didn't Vinnie Cimino, he got his start?
He worked with Jonathan.
Yeah, so
He
that's
was chef de cuisine at Greenhouse Tavern.
yeah, which I feel like that makes it even more kind of full circle since a specific chef. I know we've had a few semifinalists and different recognitions from the James Beard Awards for the different culinary endeavors going on in Cleveland, but I feel like it's kind of full circle to have
Someone in the same circle.
yeah, kind of his mentor person.
Right.
And then especially if he wins too.
That'd be awesome.
Because really no one's won, right? Since
2015, yeah.
Since Jonathan's won in 2015.
Especially with him being at least at Cordelia, such a fresh face there, relatively speaking. I'm not really sure that we see James Beard nominees that have only been running the establishment for like 2 years or less than. So
yeah, no, I think it just shows how what they're doing is really working.
Yeah,
and it's not
relevant.
just
Yeah.
we think as foodies or the customers that go there, it's like on a larger scale, really impactful for kind of a restaurant business model in general.
Yeah,
right?
and I think it speaks specifically and very strongly to his leadership skills, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, I think if you look at even just from Cleveland, the people who have made it to the semifinals, you have Allie and Jeremy from Larder, Brandon Churkowski,
Kristowski.
Brandon from Edwin's, and like those people. It is these
People with leadership skills,
Yeah,
not just cooking skills.
and who even the average foodie who kind of pays attention to the restaurant culture in Cleveland knows these people because they are not just in the kitchen cooking, they are so much a part of the community in other ways too, you know?
One question: how does the Great Lakes category sort of measure up or compare to some of the other categories? Is it more or less prestigious, or is it
I think
just
it's equally prestigious, but what you'll find is California has its own category. New York has its own category. What might be more difficult or challenging in the Great Lakes category is Chicago is part of our category.
Yeah. And Chicago has been named, I think, well, now I can't even remember. The pandemic has thrown everything up. But like, I know in the past
Chicago's a big
10
foodie
years,
city.
yes, grown as a huge their food scene has exploded even more than it has in the past. So
Right.
I think that is very significant to have them in the same category. Yeah.
Very competitive.
Thank you for listening or watching Dine Drink CLE, the podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, and rate us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcast. Follow us on Instagram at DineDrinkCLE, and make sure to subscribe to our newsletter at cleveland.com/newsletters. Thanks.